once again, family and friends. My name is Cheyanne. I come from the Lummi Nation up in Bellingham, Washington, just a little bit south of the Canadian border. My Indian name, traditional name is Kalakatam Wichtalam. I'm telling you a story that I have to this day. I have 10 and a half years of sobriety, and everybody has a rock bottom. And I've been an alcoholic, and I still am an alcoholic since I was 16 years old. So I'm now 55. So you could do the math. I'm not going to figure it out. There's a lot of years of drinking, a lot of years of having fun. But now I wake up every day knowing where I was the night before. I know that my wallet is safe. My phone is right here, not over there. I got my keys with me. These are my three go-tos. I'm good in life right now. And it's all because of my sobriety and my rock bottom story. This is my story. I was married to a lady, and we got way too intoxicated one night. We both were at the casino. And if you know the area, I mean, I'll tell you where it was. On the way home, I apparently blacked out because I don't remember the story. And she apparently was blacked out too. And we are both from the Lummi Nation. And my version of it was blacked out. I wake up the next morning, early morning, with her dad coming into the room, yelling at me, telling me I got seconds to get up and get out of the house. And at this point, I don't know. I don't see my wife next to me. I don't see her anywhere. This is her dad. And I'm asking where she's at. And he had a weapon in his hand, swinging a bat around, saying, "You got seconds to get out." Obviously, at this point, this was my rock bottom because he let me know what happened. Apparently, I punched my wife in the forehead, split her open. And at this point, she was at the hospital in the ER getting taken care of. I had no recollection of what happened. I don't know what happened. I was blacked out. So he gave me time to get up and get dressed, grab some personal things, and leave. I immediately called my wife's phone and went right to voicemail. I called my wife's mom. She gave me enough information I needed to realize what happened to her daughter, my wife at the time. And I looked around and I looked fine. There was no blood on me. I was fine. I'm looking around the house. I'm sort of in a little bit of denial, but her dad's barking at me, chased me out the house at this point. I get my truck, I take off. I'm calling, like I said, the mom. I leave town for a couple days. I was drinking at the time, so I had to sober up. And then I realized I need to do the correct thing, the right thing. So I called the Lummi department, the Lummi Police Department, and I said I need to turn myself in. And they said, "Come on in." So I went and turned myself in. They charged me with whatever it was they charged me with. That's my issue. And I did some time in jail. And after a few months of being in there, they gave me two choices. They said you could either go and do some time in prison, or you could do a year of probation over in Casper, Wyoming, at a treatment center. So the math was obviously I'm going towards Casper, Wyoming for a year. And I don't think it's open anymore, but it was for all natives throughout the United States. And I did my time in jail. Then I went over to Casper, Wyoming, and I did my year over there. And a very amazing time. It was every Sunday we got to do sweat lodge. Like I said, it was all natives from everywhere. So I was just one of many from different tribes. And after leaving there for being a year sober, plus there's some time in jail, so I got a little bit more than a year at this time. I come back home, and at the time I had my CDL license and I was driving a truck. So I was in the middle of driving through, I think it was Montana or Chicago, somewhere over that way. And my next load was going right through Casper, Wyoming. So I pulled over, and at this time, I probably have maybe 2 years of sobriety. And I called my probation officer and I said, "Is there any way that you could reach out to Casper, Wyoming Retreatment Center, Recovery Center? And I would love to stop and say hi to everybody and see everybody." And he said, "For sure." He made arrangements. He gave me the phone number and address. I pulled up there in my semi. I called ahead and they knew I was coming. So I pulled up in front of the treatment center. Now, the treatment center was right above a prison. So you got the prison down below and you got the treatment center on top. And then obviously to go in there, you got sheriffs and whoever, checks you in, checks you out. So I pull up with my truck. I walk in there and all the doors are open. They're locking all the big, huge sliding doors that you see on TV. And they didn't frisk me. They just let me walk in there. And I'm like, really weird because I'm used to being in full lockdown. Where are you going? What's going on? What do you got? What's your intentions? So I walk in there, and at the time I walk in the center, and there's all the chairs are lined up in a big circle. And I'm saying hi to all the staff and the counselors and all the higher management were all lined up. And I was like, what's going on here? And so I shook their hands and hugged them. There's some tears. And they said that, well, everyone's waiting for you in the room. Let's go in there. So I'm thinking to myself that someone's in trouble because I know it's after being there for a year, there's, just like home, you do something wrong, you get talked to. There's times where we lost TV privileges. There's times where just like when you're raising your kids, you got to put boundaries. Well, we were full blown alcoholics, addicts with boundaries that we don't like. So I go in there and I sit down in a chair next to everybody else, and there's a chair in the middle of the floor. And they're like, "Oh," I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're going to call somebody out here right now." And all of a sudden they said, "Cheyanne Cooper, we want you to." We want you to tell your story. So I'm not much of a talker, obviously. I'm crying right now. But so I went over there and I sat down and I was looking around. The counselors were like, you could do this. Just tell them, what happened, what brought you here, what your story is, your rock bottom, or whatever you want to tell. So I told the story about which I just shared with you about my rock bottom. And at this time, there was three, I think, men from Lummi, where I'm from, that were there. And I knew two of the three. And of course, everyone else is strangers to me, but they're, we're natives, so we're all brothers and we're all in recovery. So I did my speech and I realized it was like 2 hours and some minutes later for not being a public speaker. It just rolled off my tongue, and 2 hours into it, I was finally done, and there was some tears. There was happy tears. There was excitement. And it was another amazing part of my life that to this day I really haven't shared with a lot of my family and friends, but here I am talking to a whole bunch of strangers. So my life is ups and downs. I'm in a really good place right now in life. I got 10 and a half years. My sobriety day is 6/25/15. And I realized when I went to treatment center that I never thought I was better than anybody, but I'm a full blown alcoholic. You give me a beer and I'm a happy camper. I'm in. I love it. Um, but in my mind, I've never been high on anything. I smoked maybe one cigarette. So my first day in treatment, I'm shy and alcoholic, blah blah blah. This is my story. I drink beer and I didn't think I had a problem, but obviously I'm in treatment, so yes, I do have a problem. But I've never used a drug, and I got stopped so quick from a lot of other addicts, I guess, and said, no, drugs are everything's, you are not just an alcoholic, you have other issues. And I had a battle with that, but I was in a place where I needed to be for a year anyways. Long story short, I do have my recovery and it's very strong. I've gone through 2 to 3 life changing things in my life. Almost lost my daughter a year ago. Um, had a long term relationship, and because of that situation, which I never brought up in that last video. So not only did I lose my daughter in that time frame that she came back to me through the grace of God, but I had to come home to lose my mate after so many years. So those are 2 big losses. And then this past December 10th, I was involved in a flood in Everson, Washington, and I lost everything in my house. And when I say everything, I walked out with clothes and a backpack. So I've gone through some tough times, and there's only 1 or 2 people in my life that has asked me, "Are you still sober?" And I always look and smile and say, "Yes, you can't rock my foundation." Um, Back to the recovery treatment story. After I did that speak and I took off back towards home because I was going back home to Bellingham to have my 2 days off. That's the life of a truck driver. Um, I was overwhelmed of all the response I got while I was there. So I came home to talk to my family and friends. And then a few months later, I was back home again. And I was at a gas station, and there's 2 young kids that walk up to me and said, "Hey, Mr. Cooper." And I didn't recognize one of them, but the other one I recognized him from the treatment center. And he goes, "We were in there when you were in there, and we want you to know that we appreciate your story." And they said at that time, I was only the second person that's ever came back to a treatment center that they could recall the counselors. And the first person came in and said that he has relapsed a couple of times, but at that time he was sober, so they welcomed him back in. And um, when I left the treatment center after being there for a year, there are times where certain people either donate or something happens where we had a pizza party. And so I know how excited that was to us to have that situation. So when I was leaving, I left the counselors some money for a pizza party for everybody. So they were pretty thankful for that. And they said, "We want you to know that we're talking about you." And it really touched my heart to know that, you know, my life story, my situation was heard. And it mattered. So apparently they had a pizza party, and the counselors were pretty excited about, you know, Cheyanne is in recovery and he's driving semi across the United States and doing a pretty good job. And I guess they mentioned things here and there about, my recovery and the day one till the day I left, the changes. And it was nice to know that my story was heard and people listened to my story. And at this point, those young guys had their year of sobriety of being locked up, and then that they were out for 2.5 months. And they said they both were clean and sober still, and they're looking for a job, but they're looking to get back on their feet. And whatever I had in my wallet, I don't know how much it was. I gave them both some money, and I said, "God bless you guys. Thank you very much." And it's just nice to know that you know whatever drugs, alcohol, is in your life at the time when you're using, that we do recover and we do get back on our feet. And I'm very fortunate enough to have family and friends who are in recovery with me right now. I have a sister who has 33 years. I do believe we can recover right now. She's doing amazing. And I have a lot of family and friends who are sober now and clean and living a really good life. And I have other friends who are still using and drinking and doing what they're doing, but they want what we have as in recovery, and they want to better themselves. And all I could say is just, one day at a time. And then they look at me and they say, "Or 1 minute at a time." I said, "However you want to do it." I just do me and know that, we do recover, and just gather yourself, around people who love you and take care of you. And hard part for me was to get rid of all those so-called friends that don't talk to me right now, 10 years later, because, I'm not out drinking with them and causing them up anymore. But just know that life's great, and, God puts us in places that we need to be in. And to this day, me and my ex-wife don't talk anymore, but she did welcome me back in her life when I came out of treatment to let me know what I did. And without knowing that, I wouldn't be who I am right now, because I know the whole story of what happened. And there's a lot of issues I've taken care of throughout the years. I've been working on my steps, and it's just amazing right now. I go to my meetings every week, and I'm just loved, and it's just amazing. I went through that flood situation, and my AA family members have, donated $10, $20 here and there, whatever it takes, a prayer. I just want to need a prayer and a hug, and to know that I'm okay. But, recovery is about spirituality. It's about, are you really okay? And you can feel that when they ask you that. And it's amazing to know that I have people in my life who are clean and sober, and I work in the steps. And I might have 10 and a half years, but they just bring me back to day one to know that I'm in a safe place. So please just know that through ups and downs, just stay hard, stay focused on your recovery. Know that God's here. Lean on your family and friends who have been with you through this walk. And, once again, we do recover. So I want to say, at the end here, I want to say thank you. In my Lami language, I want to say Haishka. That means thank you. Haishka Siam.